Hi, this is Ed Begley Jr. You're listening to Everything Fab Four on Salon.com.
Welcome to Everything Fab Four, a new podcast focused on fun and intelligent stories about the Beatles. I'm your host, Ken Womack, music culture columnist for Salon.com and a Beatles scholar and historian. No other band, or popular phenomenon for that matter, has enjoyed the global impact of the Beatles. They are part of our human fabric. They created an enduring music that brings people together, and just about everyone has their own Beatles story to tell. Some that are surprisingly deep and unexpected. With each episode, we'll be featuring a new guest to share their Fab Four journey, along with amazing theme music from Black Rabbit. Remember, it's a Beatles world, and everybody has a story.
Class has so much to do with the way that everyone is viewed in England, that it's less about race and so much more about class. To be working class at that time was really to be invisible. And so Brian really brought them into being in a kind of a very exciting way. I think because he was gay and because he was invested and enamored with their male beauty, that he could see, like, how can I package this in a beautiful way?
Today's guest is Margaret Cho, an American stand-up comedian, actress, musician, fashion designer, and author. She is perhaps best known for her stand-up routines in which she critiques social and political problems, particularly race and sexuality. Cho first came to prominence after creating and starring in the ABC sitcom All-American Girl in the mid-1990s before establishing herself as a leading stand-up comic. Cho has also achieved renown in fashion and music, and she has even advanced her own clothing line. She has also frequently supported LGBTQ rights and has won awards for humanitarian efforts on behalf of women, Asian Americans, and the LGBTQ community. As an actress, she has acted in such roles as Charlene Lee in It's My Party and John Travolta's FBI colleague in the action movie Face Off. Cho was part of the cast of the TV series Drop Dead Diva on Lifetime Television, in which she appeared as paralegal assistant Terry Lee. In 2012, she was nominated for an Emmy Award for her guest starring role as dictator Kim Jong-il on 30 Rock. Her growing portfolio as a musician includes her 2008 single, I Cho Am a Woman, on iTunes. The song, produced by Desmond Child, was featured on her VH1 series. Throughout 2010, she worked on a full-length album. For a while, she considered the title Bon Jovi before settling on Cho Dependent. The album was nominated for a 2010 Grammy Award for Best Comedy Album. She also starred in the Showtime comedy special Margaret Cho, Cho Dependent. Welcome, Margaret Cho. It sounds like you've been becoming everything Fab Four yourself.
Well, you know, I'm trying. I'm trying my very best, and I've only met two. I've only met Ringo and Paul, and then the other two died before I got a chance to.
Right, and it sounds like George would have been your character for sure.
George was my favorite, although my real favorite is Brian Epstein, who I think people forget. I mean, he made a lot of mistakes. The biggest one was he did sort of the Murray Wilson thing and selling off all of their merchandising rights much too early, before he even knew what that would have brought them financially. Although I think they're all doing sort of okay money-wise.
I wonder if we could go back in time and talk about your story. I have to admit I'm an early Margaret Cho adopter.
Thank you.
I mean, did you grow up in a musical family? How did you come? How did music come by way of Margaret Cho in your life?
My first instrument is the piano, which I started around 7 years old, and I took lessons every week. I would do recitals every other month or so. And it was so terrifying to play because, you're playing this sort of like recital classics, Moonlight Sonata or Fur-Elise or all of these Mozart things. And you can't make a mistake. And you can't make the smallest mistake because everybody knows the songs. So you can't alter it at all. And that's probably why I wanted to be a stand-up comedian, because you could say whatever you want and nobody realizes it's a mistake. Or rock and roll, there's room for error, which actually could be quite exciting too. So there's a lot of music training that I've had. My family were also singers. My dad was a very accomplished pianist, and he met my mom in a church choir because he was going around churches in Korea and playing piano, and she was a soloist. So they met through the music scene, and I was a singer when I was very, very young. At 5 years old, I was fired from my first band at 5 because I kept waving at my mom when we were on television. So I couldn't do it, couldn't stick in the showbiz life, which is good anyway. So it worked out okay.
Okay, so how do you move then toward away from classical and toward pop or rock?
That didn't happen until much later. I think that I picked up the guitar off and on, and I didn't start seriously studying it until I was about 40. But I always loved rock and roll. I was always hanging out backstage, going to shows, going to, I think going to shows, going to studios, just hanging out. There's something about it that musicians and comedians just get along. We're kind of like in the same lifestyle. We're entertainers. We keep odd hours. We're often in cities where we're the only other person that we know. Everybody's on tour. And, I'm a fan of going to a sound check and hanging out and then getting to meet the artist that way. So actually the last tour that I did that before lockdown was March 16th. 2020, I went to see Orville Peck's sound check, and in hopes of meeting him, and he wasn't there, but I left a note, and his show ended up getting postponed because of the pandemic, and so he came to my show. So it's a natural affinity that I have for musicians, artists that I like. It's just a meaningfulness to it. So I think through that, it allowed me a lot of collaboration. I learned a lot from people like John Bryan and Fiona Apple, or Tegan and Sarah, or Andrew Bird, or Ani DeFranco, and the ways that they record. I made a record in 2010, and I made another one in 2016. And I'm just very, there's a couple of records that I have made that haven't been released. So I'm very interested in it all.
I'm so glad you mentioned folks like Fiona Apple and John Bryan and of course and Andrew Bird. Those are artists that really speak to me. They have magic around them. What's it like to know and work with folks like that?
Well, it's just how exacting they are. How precise. They're closer to mathematicians, or they're engaging in like a kind of a quantum physics. Like it's a very exacting procedure. People think of rock and roll as being this very loose, wild lifestyle, and it can be. There's elements of that. But for musicians like Andrew Bird, who's been playing since he was 4 years old, there's a science to his music, and you can hear it in the way that he composes. I think he's probably closer to a composer than he is just a musician. There's quite a lot of symphonic arrangements happening. That's the same with John Bryan. But John Bryan, it kind of comes at it in a very, what is it, like synesthesia, where you taste color?
Yeah.
He hears color. And, when he was first starting as a producer, he was telling me that he and Amy Mann were working together, and he didn't really know. They couldn't make a decision because there's too many choices about what to put on what track. And so they did it by color, like red drums, red guitar, red bass, that kind of thing. And that sort of helped them narrow it down. But recording with Brian, is a very exacting process where you're going through his huge library of vintage instruments and playing each one and deciding and putting together the band that he's going to play all the instruments to for your sound. Like it's like he doesn't change strings on certain guitars so that they'll have like an old dusty sound. He has just these ways of doing it, and you're not going to get out of there until you've laid down at least 200 or 300 takes of the song, which I appreciate.
Oh, that really brings a lot to life when I think about his music, and especially and color is the word. It has all of these textures, and it feels like you're inside a story or something. So. What about your Yoko Ono song? I was searching for it.
Oh, it's not out. It's now. It's on the record that I made with David Garza in Austin. We made a record. We wrote some of it in Austin, and then we wrote the rest of it at Sonic Ranch, which is in Tonillo, which is a very interesting place. I was up there with the Mexican band Zoe. They're kind of like Mexican Radiohead. They're huge. They're incredible. And they had taken over the ranch, and they were doing a documentary about their album, which is, I think it's on Netflix. So I follow them, but I know that we sort of like hidden sort of, I guess, Boxcar Willied their journey by they were renting out the whole ranch. So we just like snuck in there and recorded a record when they weren't using the studios. And so I'm the Yoko Ono song, I'm the One and Ono, is on that record. It's a disco track that I was actually hoping to have Yoko Ono record. So I sent it to Sean, who is a friend of mine, and he cried when he heard it. He loved it. And so, it's something that I'm still hoping, like, that whole record is done, but I haven't figured out exactly what'll happen. It's almost like when you make music, for me, I make it for myself, and so, like, putting it out is sort of another effort that I have to sort of see and figure out.
Well, thank you. I'm probably like you. I'm always looking for new music, and you had me at Mexican Radiohead. So
Zoe, it's ZOA or ZOE, Zoe in Spanish. It's Zoe. They're like, they embody. You know how like sometimes Mexican taste in music, it's very British. They love the Smiths. They love the Cure. They love the colder it is, they love it. Like the cold music of like Manchester, they love it in the warm climate of Mexico. It's a very interesting thing. So the music is like very evocative of the north of England. Like it's like a Teenage Fan Club. That's as far north as I know. And if you're not listening to Teenage Fan Club, then you're going to Iceland. That's probably farther north.
I like thinking about music in terms of latitude and longitude. That's new for me.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's very real. Like I think that the best music comes from extremes in climate. When it's rainy and cold outside, there's nothing to do but stay inside and make music, whether that's Detroit or anywhere in England. People in Minneapolis make great records because they're inside most of the time.
I love it. So how did you get from the girl who's waving to her mom from the stage, or maybe you were already there, to becoming a comedian?
Well, I also love stand-up comedy. Like I loved watching stand-up comedy. I loved SCTV and SNL, and I would watch it just constantly. There was in the 80s, cable had just sort of started, and so Nickelodeon was showing like old episodes of SCTV, or you could see SCTV on public television sometimes. So I was just so mad for it and really into it. And then I loved French and Saunders. I loved all the British comedy, like everything that was happening comedically. Monty Python was a very big influence. And I always loved like that Michael Palin like got to create this sort of like very interesting lane for himself as a travel journalist. And, you know, like I realized that comedians can really do everything. And I just wanted to be a comedian. And there was a big comedy boom happening in San Francisco in the 80s, where people like Robin Williams were performing, Bobcat Goldthwait was emerging. There was a lot of great stuff. And so it was easy to slip into and go out and do. And I had a comedy partner at first who was in my class at school. It was Sam Rockwell, who's a very famous Academy Award-winning actor now. But there's some footage of us on YouTube doing sketches that you can see. But when we're like real little kids, it's real funny to see.
We'll be back with more from Margaret Cho after these messages. We're back with Margaret Cho.
Can you tell me about your Beatles origin story? Where's the first moment in your life where you discovered them?
My parents had very few rock and roll records, but one of them was Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Like the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club record was fascinating to me because I wanted to know who all of those people were on the cover. And I was like, are all these people in this band? And the music was so confusing because it didn't sound like anything else. You know, there was just so much happening. Things like, you know, just songs moving into other songs with different styles and these differing opinions and these like sound effects. You're just like blown away by the landscape of a record like that. Like the only other rock record my parents had was Engelbert Humperdinck, which I don't know if it's a rock record, but I guess so, sort of. Yeah, it's a pop record. But it was a great thing to be able to listen to and kind of like consume, and for that to be your sort of first rock record. And then when I was a little older, then I started to explore more of the Beatles. And I even had like I went to London when I was probably about 16, and I got an old school jacket that was like striped, and I would have a badge that had it was like Fab Four era, you know, that sort of Help, I think it was the Help costumes. And so I had that, and I always thought like, oh, what a great time to be a kid is in the 60s and going to see the Beatles and you know, getting to ride that sort of first British invasion. You know, all the bands then to me just seemed so incredible, and Swinging London seemed so incredible. Although I did get to see like London in quite a few great incarnations when, you know, you were going to like the goth nightclubs in the 80s where these men were wearing their grandmother's clothes because they didn't have like goth fashion yet. So you would wear like velvet and lace from your grandmother, which I love. I think it's so great. And, you know, it was, you know, these bands like Mission UK and Susie and the Banshees and, of course, The Cure and all of these incredible artists. So I got to be there then. And then I got to go back in 1994 where you were witnessing Britpop, you know, with Blur and Oasis fighting. I have a hard time deciding which side I'm on. I really do go back and forth, but I'm really kind of, I don't know, like it's very difficult. Like I really love both Oasis and Blur, but I love all of the other, I love Pulp. I love all of the Sleeper. I love Elastica. I love all of those super pop bands. To me, really are evocative of a time, and it holds up.
Oh, it really does. I just watched the new Oasis documentary, which is the old Oasis documentary, obviously from 1996, but it really does hold up. And And the guitar music of those two bands, just pick on Champagne Supernova for a moment, right?
So great.
I mean, that thing's an epic.
It's an epic, and I mean, I just wish that I was at Nebworth. Like every once in a while, I think, oh, I could have gone to Nebworth. I couldn't have. I wasn't there, but I wasn't even close. But what a great time to be at Nebworth, or just to sort of witness the fights between Noel and Liam. So awful. Like just Liam like lambasting Noel from the audience. Like Noel tried to sing the songs. Like it's just it should be in the Bible. It's like a Cain and Abel story come to 90s England. It's quite powerful.
It really is. And that story, it's heartbreaking and it's funny. First, you're just horrified for them and their family. But then there's just something ridiculous and it moves into the bizarre. But I guess if you look at anything long enough, that happens, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's what it is that much fame, that much power, and you're fueling an already difficult sibling rivalry, and then you're putting it on the front page. There's a lot going on. You had this really invasive emergence of tabloid media coming into a power of its own that hadn't necessarily existed before. A lot of rock journalism before that had been really about fawning over these rock stars or lambasting their bacchanalian lives. But this was like a tabloid media that we're like, and in England, they're out to get you.
Oh, yeah.
It's real cutthroat in a way that it isn't necessarily here. I think we sort of adopted that here. And so we sort of like see all this stuff emerging at the same time where you have these young, incredibly talented people who need each other and already don't get along all that well.
Well, we're performing some important psychoanalysis for them right now.
I would love to do a therapy session with the Gallaghers. I mean, that would be like a great, to be like a rock band, like a mediator, like the guys that do it in for some kind of Monsters for the Metallica documentary. Because people in bands really get mad, and I couldn't imagine if you're also related to somebody in your band, that's got to be even harder. But then their voices sound so great, so who knows?
Yeah. Creative differences, as I tell my students, are real.
Yes.
And they're terrifying when they happen, and people will go to war and dismiss each other over what may seem like small things. Imagine rock star therapy, Supertramp, they could still be together, getting along, those two lead singers.
Oh, that would be great. Yeah. Or even, I think the Who still perform together, but they have to go in completely separate planes, separate buses, or if it's mediating something. I actually really like the additions of Fleetwood Mac because Neil Finn is a friend, and I'm a, long time fan of Split Enz and Crowded House, and he was able to do a band with his brother for a very long time. So 2 bands with his brother.
Yeah, Fleetwood Mac could use some help. I mean, Lindsey Buckingham is important to that group, though.
Well, I think that Lindsey is really like there is something to Lindsey's catalog, his voice, his playing, but in a sense, I think that the story of Lindsey is quite difficult. Like his personality combined with everybody else's. Like he's the one that there's a lot of history and a lot of anger, but we'll never really know unless we're actually in the band.
That's right. Or doing therapy for the band.
Yeah, when you're doing therapy for the band, that's when you know.
That's interesting about Split Enz. I was an early adopter there with, what was that song called? I Got You.
Yes, that's a great one.
But I got it for the wrong reason. I remember it had a laser cut record. And it was like 1979 or something, and it was a laser cut record. And so
that's
I was
incredible.
like, Mom and Dad, I have to have the laser cut record. And then it turned out it was good.
It's really good. I think that record is called Waita, which is party in Maori. And they are that band was so incredible. Split Ends was like an art band from like an art college, and they made their own costumes. All of those Commedia dell'arte costumes were actually sewn by Noel Crombie, who was kind of like the hype man in the band. I'm not exactly sure what instrument he played, but he was sort of like the Bez. If you sort of take the Happy Mondays, he was like the Bez. Every band sort of has a Bez. They're a really good band. So I feel like he was like an early Bez. But he sort of curated that like Commedia dell'arte look, and they kind of came out where, at that same time punk rock was happening, and you didn't put a lot of effort into your look, or if you did, you tried to make it not look like a lot of effort. But here's these like crazy foppish giant suit wearing Commedia dell'arte out of the 1600s looking guys playing new wave. It was very shocking.
And then they become a crowded house,
which is it's like a 90s adult contemporary band. I mean, it is like the definite definition of a burnished wood band where you paint your album cover. And you have these beautifully crafted songs, which have a little bit to do with the Beatles because there's so much going on in them. There's so many textures and sound. And it's really, I really love Crowded House. I think I've seen them play in 5 different countries on different continents in, over 30 years. I'm such a fan.
My youngest son, many years ago, came in and announced to me once that "Don't Dream It Over, Don't Dream It's Over" is the greatest pop song ever made.
It's true.
And he will accept no argument.
It's true. Because it's got some Percy Sledge overtones. There's Mellotron. There's great, I think it's like just beautiful guitar work. I think Neil is such a great guitarist, and it's at that point they were a trio, so it's a big sound to create from 3 guys.
And it is a big sound and a great video, which did.
Yes, it's a great video.
So I was interested when I was doing my research on you. When you get involved in something, you take a deep dive, right? You get in there and you research, such as your interest in the Beach Boys at one time, where you just read everything about them.
Yes. And
tell me about these passions of yours.
I'll go through phases where I'll only listen to certain bands or certain styles of bands. So in the Beach Boys era, like I was only going to see Brian Wilson or the Wondermints. I was only going to see these events where you would see like, Al Jardine and Friends and Family, or you would see, I hadn't gone to see Mike Love because I have some issues with Mike Love, but I definitely,
I think Mike Love has some issues.
Mike Love he needs some therapy sessions. No matter how much TM he does, he's never going to be Zen to me. But I really was like invested in the sounds. I just fell into it, and I read every book about it, whether that was like Heroes and Villains or Brian's book, and you can get very deep into their sound because in the sense it mirrors the Beatles in that they were almost doing like a battle of the bands, but over the Atlantic Ocean, because they were sort of trying to compete with each other, like who can do the better record? Was it Pet Sounds? Was it the White Album? Was it Sgt. Pepper's? It's like these sounds you get so invested in, and I can do that really deeply. Right now, my obsessions are with the young female singer bands. So that's Soccer Mommy, Beach Bunny, Clairo, Mitski. These young women who are Phoebe Bridger. Who are really taking rock by storm. And they're like the grandchildren of Joni Mitchell. They're like the grandchildren of Dusty Springfield and Bobby Gentry. So there's such a rich legacy that they're drawing from, whether it's feminism history, rock, pop, all of it, the Go-Go's. I can get so deep into a particular genre and a particular band and only listen to that for years.
So then you must have at one point, right, gone on a Beatles bender, right, where you went in. Now, I think there are at this point more than 1,500 Beatles books. Did you consume all of them?
I did not consume all of them, but I did quite a lot of damage to the the catalog of them. I mean, I think there's one that's just about the drugs they did, which I really liked. There is my favorite though is the one that's only about Brian Epstein, because I think people say, "Oh, it's Pete Best. He's the fifth Beatle." Or is that Pete Best? No. What's his name?
No, Pete was the drummer they ditched for Ringo.
Oh, it's the other one, Stu.
Yeah.
They're like, Stu's the fifth Beatle. Pete wasn't the fifth Beatle, but Stu was the fifth. I think the fifth Beatle was actually Brian Epstein, because of the way that sort of he's like going from this record store all the way to global domination, and then missed most of it. Unfortunately, died before, all of the things happened. But it's really, it's amazing. I love the side players. Is it Alan Klein? I love Yoko Ono, of course. And then I love, whose book was it? It's George Harrison's wife. It's George Harrison's wife, Patty Boyd's book was a great sort of retelling of these stories. So if you go into all of these rock biographies, then you get to a Rashomon, and you sort of see the same event happening from different perspectives over and over, and whether that's the big symphonic recording of All You Need Is Love on the BBC, from all the different perspectives, or the fabulous disaster of the big what is it, the store, the Apple store,
right? Yeah, their Apple boutique.
With the Fool, the Apple boutique,
yeah,
which I would have loved to shop there. What a great thing. It's and those artists called the Fool, the artist collective called the Fool, and they made all the outfits from those videos where they're all in paisley. So the I Am the Walrus videos was costumed by the Fool, and all of that stuff. To me, all of that sidebars are really what make the experience to read all those books.
It is an incredibly rich story, and of course, as I tell my students, I teach a Beatles class here on the Jersey Shore. One of the things that makes it fairly unique is that upward trajectory. They start down here and they just go all the way up in a continual line, and then they leave forever. It's a powerful story, and I love telling it every semester.
Well, it's just beautiful. I know. I love it. I love that it's just like two guys meeting at a church fete. And it was faith that brings them together. And then, going to Germany and the outfits. The outfits I think they were always sort of curated. The outfits seemed to be put together their look was really put together by Brian Epstein. I think their look really had a strong component in their success, because of course they were gorgeous guys, but the fact that they all sort of wear these little suits, which is so, I think it's just something that we see again and again, because it's just this successful thing. You see BTS doing it, and I love it.
Well, it was brilliant of Brian too, because he's trying to sell Liverpudlians to people in the capital in London. And, if you just show them up in leather or whatever they're wearing that day, it will not happen. He had to really groom that story to get over that barrier, that cultural disdain.
Well, class has so much to do with the way that everyone is viewed in England. And in the UK, there's such an unspoken hierarchy that it's less about race and so much more about class. And to be working class at that time was really to be invisible. And so Brian really brought them into being in a kind of a very exciting way. I think because he was gay and because he was invested and enamored with their male beauty, that he could see, like, how can I package this in a beautiful way?
And it just doesn't happen without him. There's no doubt about that. Or George Martin, right?
Oh, George, yes. George is actually the fifth Beatle. Like, there's probably really about 10 Beatles. If you think about, there's Astrid also, who took all the photographs. I mean, we really sort of boil it down. There's really probably about 10 Beatles. I would say Cynthia's in there too.
There are a lot of fifth Beatles.
Yeah. So let's just add them all to one giant collective. But they really, I love all the sort of like the sidebar projects. I love Ringo making with the Magic Christian. I love him doing is the documentary with It's Born to Boogie with Mark Bolan and Elton John. I love Mark Bolan popping out of a grand piano and Elton John playing it. This is like so great. I love Harry Nilsson. Harry Nilsson also, I think, is kind of a fifth Beatle in a way too.
He certainly was around those edges. There's no doubt.
Yes.
One thing we're doing on this show this season, as we attempt to come out of the pandemic, which has wrought so much pain, of course, and continues to. One thing we're talking about a lot this year is hope. Mm. Did the Beatles ever give you any sense of hope? Where do you go for your hope when you need to be inspired?
I think, I definitely go to Mean Mr. Mustard and Polythene Pam, like how you could take pieces of a song and put them together to make this one grand song, or that, I'm always inspired by the way that the Beatles approached music, because they realized that everything can be music. A door opening and closing can be music, and adding that into the idea that all things that happen to you is usable art, and they can be used to fuel your hopes and dreams, which is what I honestly believe.
Everything Fab Four is presented by Salon.com, the premier news, politics, innovation, and arts website. For more information, visit everythingfab4.com, where you can learn more about our podcast and my latest Beatles-related book, Living the Beatles Legend, The Untold Story of Mal Evans. The Everything Fab Four theme song, Seize the Day, is provided courtesy of Black Rabbit, the high-octane Beatles cover band, an innovative psychedelic rock project from Rockaway Beach, Queens in New York City. Like what you heard today on Everything Fab Four? Be sure to subscribe, give us a rating, and recommend the show to your friends. Plus, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter at EF4 Podcast. Distributed by Salon.com, Everything Fab Four is a Wonderwall production. Remember, it's a Beatles world, and everyone has a story.